toss it into my various group chats before closing them. Tweet is fired off. Let people kind of show up a bit. Pull up my Patreon stuff so I can plug that. So we're not being nice to this game this time, right?
No.
Yeah. I said the combat's fun as hell. It's just everything else about it is a problem. Okay, game audio okay for you?
No, because I can't even hear it.
Not getting anything?
Nope. We turn it all the way up. I don't need it, to be fair.
Alright, fair enough. Alright. Hi folks, good evening. I'm Dante. Welcome back to Werewolf the Apocalypse-Earthblood. This is our second time streaming this. I once again have Wendi riding shotgun. Say hi, Wendi.
Hello. How you guys doing?
Before we properly get started, do have an announcement. Yesterday went live for the first time. Content is currently being filmed for it. Inferno Gaming now has a Patreon. Just to fill you in on what's available. For $1 a month, you get access to the Inferno Gaming Discord server, monthly pre-gen character or NPC that's ready to plug right into your game, and a Patreon shout out in the credits of every video we produce. For $5 a month, you get all of that. Plus, I'll be running a monthly GMing workshop where you can get together with other GMs, share what you've created, help each other grow your worlds. For $10 a month, everything previously noted, plus you can request a review. You can add a review to the book queue. Now, just a heads up, the review will not be immediate because, well, it takes a good week for me to go through one of these full books, write a review, film it, and I can only do so many a week. But I will keep you updated on the timeline and when your book is coming up. For $20 a month, you get all that, plus what I'm calling behind the scenes content. I will be posting my notes for the streaming games like Werewolf the Apocalypse, Blood and Silver, NPCs, character sheets, and we'll be in the process of actually scanning my GM notebooks and transcribing those. That I've got some GM notebooks I've had since high school. I finished high school in 2000. So there's at least 2 decades of ideas to be perused and stolen, borrowed, folded, spindled, and mutilated at your beck and call. And for $50 a month, I can only take 2 patrons at this level because, again, I only have so much time. You get everything else, plus I will run a game for you in your group. It's going to be a one-shot, it's going to be an ongoing campaign. If you do pledge to this tier, I will contact you directly and we will work out what you want to do. So, the reason we're doing this, For a long time, I've wanted to do more streaming material, but before my recent move, I didn't have the room, I didn't have the hardware, and I didn't have the time due to my work schedule. Now, I've got all three, and I want to actually do something with this. But I'm gonna need your help. Equipment is not cheap, let's be honest, and folks subscribe to the Patreon, or we also have below the stream here, and we'll be on the YouTube channel. Links to both the Patreon and to just PayPal. If you want to toss a tip in, hey, it's great. I really appreciate it. Don't think you have to. You know, I do this because I'm having fun, but it'd be nice. But no, the money helps with the heavy lifting for equipment, buying books to review, buying games to review. I'm going to be doing more regular Twitch streams after Earthblood is completed. I'll be moving on to Dragon Age Origins, and helps with the heavy lifting for attending cons to be able to run charity games like I have at Tiny Paws, Furthermore, and well, there were plans to try and do one at Anthrocon last year, but then the whole plague thing happened. Hopefully, if Anthrocon can safely happen this year, hopefully I can get that going again. But, like I said, folks, if you want to kick in, I really appreciate it. If you don't, that's cool too. It's great having you here. So, let's get to this. Alright.
I'm blaming the game.
Yeah, considering it just tossed me to the official Twitter account for the game. Okay, there we go. Alright, we're at Endron's training site where they're training their mercs, their mechs. In the first round of this, we accidentally fridged our wife. Ran away, got our kid to hate us. Came back. Kid still hates us, probably with good reason, let's be honest. And for reasons no one who knows Werewolf the Apocalypse can understand, there is a oil refinery literally 20 feet outside the cairn.
Yeah, that pissed me off a lot.
Yeah, we were relatively kind to this game last time. That is not happening again.
Yeah, the fact that I know they said it was built very quickly, but it's not even a mile.
Yeah, no, it's literally a 5-minute walk, and say Werewolf's always been a morally gray game, but yeah, this leans full on into eco-fascism, which is kind of explained by the fact that it turns out Sweetkiller is indeed in the writing credit, has a writing credit on this, and he has this fixation on turning the clock back to first edition on everything.
Fun fact, I actually edited the Wikipedia for this game and saying that it was not an eco-terrorist friendly game. And some random person told me I was wrong, and they cited a video where they directly say eco-terrorism is supported.
Nice and quiet.
And at that point, I'm like, well, you got me.
There is more than a bit of an eco-fascism vibe to it. Which
now, I will say this: what you're doing right now is awesome.
Anyway.
What you're doing right now, actually, I think was the best part of the game. You're pretty much doing Metal Gear Solid with werewolves, and I wish they did more of this because the stealth part of it is outstanding.
Yeah, the combat's super loose, but I'm not gonna lie, the combat's fun, but nothing mind-blowing. The stealth mechanics are fantastic. I don't understand how the rest of this ended up the mess that it is.
Totally do. The developers of this game had a stealth series called Styx with a little goblin that came around, and they had 2 games of it. So they had 2 games to develop a entire stealth platform. So they have experience doing stealth, and they do it very well, and they play perfectly with the mechanics of this game, with being a wolf and having stealth.
So they just reskin that.
I wouldn't say reskin. but they have definitely, you can see the experience of it. Like right here, perfect. You did stealth, you completely skipped that combat. That's awesome.
And the weird doggy doors in the ventilation shafts that
Yeah.
There were some really strange design choices in this game.
For a group that gets attacked by werewolves a lot, they have some really weird LED glowing doggy doors.
Right, well that's the thing, is they work with black spirals. They know how this shit works.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, let's grab the flask. Let's not forget that we're from the Fianna, we're from the British Isles, stereotypically Irish, and therefore we can power our rage with a flask. Just in case you thought that...
Yeah.
Just in case that you thought that only brown people got problematic tropes in this game. Oh god, I'm deeply grateful that Swedekilla is no longer at White Wolf, and I would bet anything that half of the reason that Werewolf 5th Edition kind of went back to the drawing board like it did was so that the last of his influence could be weeded out before they ended up with another literal international incident.
During this comprehensive checkup, you'll be treated with a serum reserved for the
well,
elite.
if it means we don't get Werewolf 5th Edition until 2026, I guess it's worth it.
I mean, after the V5 incident, where, again, literally an international incident. Right, not sure how to do song, but fine. Everyone wants to die. Everyone gets to die. Hi, guys. You know, the thing is, there is a thing in canon that gives you a reason why the delirium isn't working out here. They never bother to mention it in the game.
Yeah, they don't mention a lot of things which upset me. Like, they don't mention, like, how a werewolf happened. They don't mention, like, why are we fighting this? They do it briefly in cutscenes, but there's an extremely deep lore in Werewolf that never gets touched, and it's frustrating.
And what lore is here is mostly wrong.
Yeah. I wouldn't say wrong, it's just not right. It's incomplete. My big worry, and I talked to one of my players about this, Ron, Rogue, when he was playing this game, he's worried people that will come from this game and go, okay, you know, they're going to start a new game of Werewolf, and they're going to be like, all right, I played this, I understand the stats, I'm going to look around for bad guys using my Ember Blade. And the Storyteller's going to be like, what? And he's like, yeah, like I did in the game. And the Storyteller's going to be like, that's a rank 3 Surge gift. You don't get that for a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I had similar problems after Bloodlines came out, but Bloodlines... The changes with Bloodlines were for the reasons of there's some parts of tabletop that just are not going to translate to a video game, which, fine, cool.
How long will it be before our latest batch of recruits?
This 2 months for most of them.
In all honesty, Werewolf the Apocalypse is probably the easiest World of Darkness property to adapt to a video game, aside from maybe Hunter. And yeah. I know one of the things people bitch about these days is platform exclusive, but honest to God, if it meant that we got a Werewolf game developed by the God of War guys, I'll accept it being a Sony exclusive.
It's not... I don't hate the combat, I just think it's boring. Like, after the 4th or 5th time you've done this, it's just... You know, it's always a good time. It's always enjoyable. There isn't enough differences in the power. Like, you could run through the entire game with your base power, never start upgrading anything to your stats, and I don't think you would notice significantly.
I'm not gonna lie, there is something weirdly satisfying about picking a man up by his head and flinging him into a wall, but...
Yes.
Yeah, Big Puppy Stewart says, consider this a work of digital fan fiction. That is probably the best policy, and I would not be shocked if there are discussions in White Wolf right now.
So the
Basically,
injections
okay,
have something
how
to
do we
with the
explain to people
worm.
that this shit ain't canon?
Well, it was apparently based off of one of the developers' actual games, and this character Kyle,
Kale, I
was
think.
a Kyle. They were one of the developers' player characters, and he had them for a while. And that, if that doesn't reek of, fan fiction-y, nothing else will.
That's the thing is, I can understand. I'm not gonna lie. In a similar position, I would probably slip a longtime character of mine in, just as a little Easter egg thing. I wouldn't be able to resist that temptation. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't make him the main fucking character.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And a lot of people I know were. I have some friends that were really excited about this game.
It smells.
And they're like, "Oh, cool! Like, can you play as your characters and pick your own, class and gender and everything?" And they're like, "Nope, can't. You're stuck with this one guy." And they're like, "Hard pass." And I get it. The original Vampire game didn't let you do that either. You were stuck as a Bruja, but you can still change and do power. I played it. I liked it. I still play it.
I've tried to play it repeatedly, and I just cannot get into it for the life of me.
It's difficult. I've gotten the modern era. I have.
Alert! All personnel.
What the fuck? Did you hit him?
Say again.
Did you hit him? Yeah. It's like a WWE uppercut. Didn't look like you hit him.
I think it's the first time I've ever died in this, and honestly, it's because I, honest to God, forgot which button I needed to press to heal. But no, it's admittedly, I think a lot of people thought that this was going to be Bloodlines the Fang with her. I don't know why. Even the devs never tried to sell it as some kind as the werewolf version of Bloodlines.
Is under lockdown.
No, seriously, I do not remember how to heal.
L, left trigger, and down.
It's like, I have not touched this game since the last time we streamed.
Left trigger and the down arrow.
I made it to the propane tank.
Dig it.
Down direction. Left trigger and down directional.
Yeah.
He's more monster than man.
Yeah, no, I understand people
Just
having
muscles,
been
stacked
excited
on
for this,
muscles.
if only because there were 2 previous Werewolf games in development. Both of them actually got pretty far along. One was going to be for the Sega Saturn, and a little bit of playable content from that actually leaked out 2-3 years ago. And the other was going to be for PC.
Security's detected.
And all of the cutscenes are out for that. They're 90s-tastic, but they exist.
Stay on your guard. Point a bullet.
And both of them ended up canceled before they could be released because the developers went out of business. Both times.
Now, I actually saw those cutscenes, and I think the plot for it is really interesting. Like, that is something I would love to do, but not for a troop game. That was something I would love to do if I was ever running a spoiler. Basically, the last remaining white collar is found alive, and you have to do a massive quest to prevent the evil Ziggurex, whatever her name is, from getting the heart of Gaia, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I like the cutscenes. They're for what they are. They're okay.
But it's 90s-tastic. I would never let that go. But it does capture the flavor of the game as it was in, what, 1996?
Yeah, the one where the character first finds a spirit, that was kind of cool. Like, I don't like how they do spirits very much in this game, but it works. With that said, I like this game. I like it and I don't. I will play it again eventually.
But there's a soldier guarding it. He's more monster
Maybe when I get
than
my new
man,
computer.
though. Just muscles stacked on muscles.
Can I spend a minute to trash a company that still owes me a computer?
Oh, please go ahead.
All right, I ordered a computer from a company called Build Redux, and they still owe me a refund.
Security's detected.
And basically what happened was I got it, and I kept restarting every 15 to 20 minutes, so they replaced it. And they're like, well, we had a bad shipment of power supplies. We'll send you a power supply. And I'm like, I can repair it myself. I've done that before, but I paid you to do it. I don't want to do it myself. Okay, so they send me another one, and they're basically like, you don't have to swap anything. You have to swap all the cables. You just swap the power supply out. I'm like, are you sure? That's the exact same model then. I love... The one thing they do very well in this game is...
Yeah, what was that? The one thing they do very well is
the environmental destruction.
Oh yeah.
And once you get used to the
Okay, where's the asshole with still
right there.
You over here now.
Once you get used to the, it took me a while to do it. It took me a couple of levels, and I wish they would do this in the tutorial better. Once you get used to the left trigger focus lock, and you tap the left trigger to change your walk target. Once you get used to that, it is very... Like, I don't know if this game just has a high learning curve, or they just explained it bad, but once you learn that, you can just... You're like, who's hitting with silver? Flick, 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 flick. Jump on them, get rid of them. Okay, what's the next biggest target? Flick, 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 flick.
The explosives are in place.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, I don't think it's a learning curve so much. It's just, no, it's really poorly explained. Big Puppy Stewart, I'm going to invite Kale over to my next party because he made some killer chunky salsa. I'm not going to lie, I really like the blood spatter in this. I appreciate that. I probably shouldn't. It probably says some uncomfortable things about me, but...
It's satisfying. This is a good... I don't want to dunk on this game completely. This is a good COVID game. This is a game where if you want to just go in and destroy things, it's a really fun game to do that. And there are definitely nights where I'm like, I will just go and just kill things. I've been playing a game called Katana Zero, and it's a wonderful 2D, you know, blow 'em up. At higher levels, it acts more like a puzzle. With this game, it is definitely enjoyable to just go in and rip, tear, and kill.
I see what you did there. But no, yeah, it's satisfying to go full angry puppy. Not gonna lie. Also, that's what Garo are now, angry puppy. Alright, open the door, click the cameras off. The cameras with the weird red spotlights. Major Grainer, the first contingents of elite troops will finish their training on the forecasted date. The results are positive. Their physical performance is far above norm. However, those that survive the program lose mobility. We shall be sending a report on this matter to the prison lab scientists so that the program can be improved. We shall be sending you a unit of elite soldiers in the coming weeks. General Command wants to know that they expect a weekly report on them.
This
Okay,
is about those
so
big bastards.
what you're telling me is that Pentex has like SCP-D classes. Though, let's be honest, the American prison system would totally sell prisoners to various corporations for experimentation. That is something that we would have very little problem with.
So, fun fact, for those of you that have used Microsoft's Teams, Microsoft's new tools, if you can do this in stealth, I'll be impressed.
What was that? We got company over here. What? Trespasser sighted.
You had it!
Yeah,
The
no,
camera.
In invisible walls, even if the doors are open.
Oh, I thought you had it.
Alright, everyone gets to die. Like, is no one in the other parts of this building hearing any of this?
I wish they had hand waved out of the way. Like, we've isolated the alarm so that they're only for a local area. Like, something left one.
We're just, hearing all of the gunfire and screaming.
I will say this, if you play this, and you can't do it. You cannot play this game completely stealth, which I don't like. I wish you could. You can do minimal combat.
Yeah, but
and the stealth...
You can't dip out of it entirely.
No, and the stealth is... For what it is, it's a 2 attribute bonus, which, like, it's a 2 tree thing. Yeah, 2 ability tree. And I'm not even sure how good it is. I was talking to one of my older players, what they wish they did was they wish that they had made the game 2-pronged. Like, right now you just have Umbra vision. The way Werewolf works is, and I don't know this is also probably something they considered, but it doesn't really work in all levels because you couldn't do it here because of canon, but whatever. The way you could have it work is just you constantly slip in and out of the Umbra to, there's like 5 guards ahead of you in this world, but in the other world there's less guards and 2 of them are roaming, so you just flip to the other world and then they're all lined up somewhere else and you flip back, like constantly flipping between this world and the Umbra to get through stealth puzzles. That would be freaking cool. Yeah,
hell, I swear to God, I've seen that exact mechanic somewhere before, and I'm spacing on what it is now. But no, yeah, that could have made for some interesting strategy elements. That is not what we did here.
Yeah, it's the classic. It's the classic Sonic Mania conundrum. Sonic games classically have speed, adventure, some kind of combat, and then a boss.
This is about those big bastards.
And there's a balance. And in the newer Sonic games, they very much lowered the amount of speed and added more combat and more adventure. But Sonic is all about speed. The problem is the more you do, because like the original Sonic games, they just pretty much had speed and a boss. The more you do, the harder it is to do any one thing good. With this game, it's hard because they do 3 different things: combat, stealth, and a little bit of exploration. And it's just too much for a small B team.
Yeah. As I won't deny the ambition. You can tell that the ambition, you can see the ambition on display. I think it's just a mixture of just not having the right team for this, and didn't have the right team. Whatever I promised, years from now will come out that Storyteller fucked something up early on that became an unrecoverable error. But let's be honest, every issue with White Wolf nowadays can basically be traced back to him.
Fine. You want to tell the story? You've mentioned the Swede killer before. Martin Erickson, right? No, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And with this guy, for people that don't know, he is considered the sort of Swedish Dracula. He paid a lot of money for a Kickstarter.
He calls himself Swedish Dracula.
Yeah.
He actually fucking called himself that on stage.
Cringe.
Fucking LARPers, man.
But, hey, you know what you should do next? You should play Redemption. If you're gonna stream the Werewolf games and you're gonna stream the World of Darkness games, play Redemption.
Well, yeah, I'm planning to go back and forth. Like I said, after this, I'm doing Dragon Age Origins, and then I'll swing back around to the World of Darkness. Yeah, probably Redemptions. I want to do that before Bloodlines, if nothing else, just so people can appreciate this is how far it came in just one game.
Redemption, it's a fun game. The first boss is okay. You would definitely need to use a guide for it.
Oh yeah.
It's a good game. It's a game you die a lot. It's an old school style Diablo-esque.
I was about to say, yeah, it's basically Diablo-alike.
Diablo 1, not Diablo 2. Diablo 2 went more action. This is Diablo 1.
No,
This is about those big
at this point, I
bastards.
desperately want just a World of Darkness video game, that actually gets released and is good without just being a visual novel. The visual novel game, Coteries of New York is kind of eh. Shadows of New York is legit good. And Werewolf Heart of the Forest is actually fantastic.
It won a Polish Game of the Year award.
Let's make a...
Like, yeah, if CDPR hadn't turned out to be complete garbage, I would say, hey, hand Werewolf to them.
Yeah. So, back to the story real quick.
Yeah.
Swedish vampire. He paid he was a big guy in the LARPing team. He paid way too much money, at least $1,000, if not more, to get his character as one of the signature images of the Misi?
Yep.
Yeah. Which, okay, cool. They are the weird clan of vampires that do the
Or Beta
Coen
Body
Brothers shit.
Beta Body Horror.
Yeah, Coen Brothers shit, yeah. Cronenberg, there we go.
I was like, Cronenberg, I was saying, the Coen Brothers have done body horror movies? I'm interested. I would watch the shit out of this.
They might have, but definitely if Cronenberg applied to this stuff. Like, this is a game I would love to see speedrun.
Yeah.
Like, I could guarantee you, I imagine there was a speedrun game for it. When I was playing around early on, I was that is always fun. The fatalities are fun.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see this game speedrun. You could probably get down to, like, less than 2 hours. This is a fun game.
Yeah, like, the combat's fun as hell, I'm not gonna lie. It's fast and weirdly satisfying. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, Swedish Dracula.
Yeah, he basically paid a bunch of money, got his name on it. He was pushed as someone that they wanted to write the Vampire 5th edition, which had some really good ideas and had some really bad ideas and had some controversies that, quote, quote, did not translate to English very well.
Well, it's part of it. He's got one of his buddies, like a longtime buddy of his, is an exec at Paradox. He talked his buddy into basically buying the White Wolf IP for him. And then, hey, put me in charge of it. And Paradox thought that, hey, we can, just let them handle their stuff. They'll be fine. They'll work on their own, and we can turn this into our own horror-based MCU.
Search the warehouse.
It did not work out like
Find the
this.
intruder, don't try to play
No.
hero. Give the alert immediately.
Again, because the dude, among other things, caused an honest-to-God international incident.
Yup.
Yeah, so it was already it was a bad sign early on when the pre-alpha for the game released, and oh hey, here's a player character that's heavily coded as a pedophile. Things went downhill from there.
There was a certain number of combinations with strange done.
Yeah, that's at first I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, because it's one thing, if you don't spend a lot of time paying attention to what white nationalist groups are doing, you legit might not know what that reference was. But then other stuff came out like, okay, yeah, no, there's some uncomfortable.
By itself, I would have called this a bad roll of the dice. Literally a bad roll of the dice.
Yeah.
In combination of other things, however, it doesn't look good.
Yeah. So, Vampire 5th Edition comes out. Mixed reviews from longtime World of Darkness fans. So, for the most part, it's legit a good game.
It has problems.
What's the latest
It
on
does
the
problem.
program?
No, I won't deny that, but for the most part, it's a solid piece of, it's a solid tabletop experience.
It has some really good elements. It has some really bad elements. The good is the combat can be very smooth. The good is that they've made the powers satisfying. They actually nerfed the Tremere to the point where they're no longer the Swiss Army knives of the World of Darkness. The combat can be very satisfying. The system itself is core and it's great for social. The universe is good. The media in which they portray it is very good. Like, there's literally a Reddit post in the images.
Aside from the atrocious layout of the core book. But...
Yeah. Well, there's a Reddit post image. And if you go to that specific URL that they list in the book, you can find that specific post someone actually made on Reddit, which I thought was a cool Easter egg.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of little things. My biggest issue is combat.
Stay
It's still just not
vigilant.
fun.
Weapons ready.
It still is satisfying because it is fast, it's brutal, and it requires a lot of dice and a lot of little things to do. And they've simplified things where it's not enjoyable. It feels like it's a longer. It feels very brutal. It feels very scary because you can die very quickly. It's just not satisfying, and I don't think you could do Werewolf with it well.
Yeah. No, I really like the hunger mechanic. It's one of the better parts of V5. Anyway, so, V5 came out to some controversy, but for the most part, things look fine. And then the first supplements came out.
Yeah.
Oh dear, the first both of them had problems. Anarch was the lesser problem. It had that creepy little sidebar where it's supposed to be, I guess, Facebook posts with thin blood parents asking, "Hey, is it okay to feed my kid vampire blood?"
Good. Keep it up.
And the thing where they decided, hey, let's devote like 3 pages to this vampire couple's pup play thing as their feeding method. But okay, fine, whatever. And then the Camarilla book dropped.
Yeah.
There's a couple of stories that have gone around about exactly what happened here. From, yeah, it's exactly as bad as it looks, to, yeah, the editor got a hold of this and completely fucked it up because, you know, English is like his 5th language or something.
Well, here's the thing. The spoiler with World of Darkness 5th edition is they had to bring it to the modern era. And originally what they wanted to do was, at the time, World of Darkness, back in the 90s and aughts, didn't shy far away from modern issues. They mentioned the Bosnia bombing, the Furies, and how they felt. They, if you read Rage Across Russia, directly reference, perhaps ironically enough, Vladimir Putin recently became president, and saying only time will tell how Vladimir shapes Russia into his own image. Will he go in this other direction or this other way?
Yeah, that, 20 years later, that gets, yeah.
20 years later, it was a fun Easter egg to kind of look at with a different lens. But they didn't shy away from the events of the time. They really leaned into it with the coming of the 21st century, with all the apocalyptic worries and cults and doomsday and Y2K worries at the time. When it came time to 5th edition, they leaned into something that if they didn't take a big break, they would not have been able to get away with. They said that 9/11 caused some significant changes in the world. 9/11 were not caused by vampires, which is the smartest thing they can do. 9/11 was not caused by anything supernatural, but it caused a lot of fear in the vampires, which caused them to use government agencies as a tool to attack their enemies. And then those government agencies learned about the existence of vampires and the evil Camarilla, if you will, that have been pulling the strings for decades, and they launched the 2nd edition. That is a brilliant way to evolve and use a major plot without segregating or dehumanizing or marginalizing any group. That was freaking brilliant, and I'm giving Martin credit for that. I have no idea if he ate it up.
But you probably shouldn't, considering he publicly called Justin Achille a coward for not integrating 9/11 into New York by Night.
At the control room.
Yeah, I like Justin.
Cutting the ventilation.
I like Justin.
The original World of Darkness usually had the good taste to not blame real-world tragedies on the supernatural.
They did a little bit with World War II and a tiny bit with Auschwitz and a certain vampire, but it was the minority.
It wasn't a major part of the meta plot. They didn't try to make it a major part of the meta plot.
Definitely not a major part of the meta plot. There are some interesting individuals that shaped history that have become supernatural or were supernatural. The running joke is Rasputin was both a kinfolk, a ghoul, a vampire, a werewolf, a changeling, a mage. He was everything.
Well, we're dancing around the major historical figure that is a vampire canon in the World of Darkness.
Yup.
First edition, Berlin by Night.
Yup.
Heinrich Himmler is still around,
Yup.
and he's a vampire.
Yeah. Yeah. Mistakes were made.
Again, it's one of those things with really from 2nd edition on, they seem to go out of their way to just not mention this ever again.
That book and the first edition of The Secrets of the Black Hand are the 2 books that I remember.
Don't acknowledge anyway, but
Yeah. If you want to see people explain them, there's a podcast called 30 Years of Vampire that just destroys that.
Yeah, the guys at 25 Years of Vampire the Masquerade, if you're into the World of Darkness especially, please check it out. They've done all of Vampire. They're in the midst of first edition Werewolf right now, and they are absolutely delightful.
I gotta watch those though. Yeah, 25, not 30, and I gotta watch the first one. I gotta watch that. I've been on a werewolf break. I will be perfectly honest. When the news came that Hunters Entertainment had their license revoked, more or less, my interest in Werewolf drastically dropped, and the way that White Wolf did it, they didn't announce it. They said all brands are now going to be developed in-house, including the Sabat book, including all these things. Like, oh, okay. And then they started talking about Vampire, where it was going, and they didn't mention Werewolf once. And then later on, Justin McKilley said, you know what, you guys should really demand for representation.
Ventilation system.
Agree on Werewolf. And everyone was like, wait a minute, Werewolf got canned too? He's like, all I'm saying is that you guys should demand for it. But we had representation. Hunters had a great team. Yeah. And this is what White Wolf said. They said they're bringing everything in-house. Wait, does that mean, then why didn't they just outright say that?
My guess is there's some contractual shit there that
Hidana.
some stuff can't be publicly stated for whatever reason right now.
It was really frustrating to get that second hand, and then for Hunters Entertainment not even to say anything. They're just like, hey, we're going to be shutting down the Discord channels for Werewolf now.
Yeah, my guess what happened there is the entire reason that they had started outsourcing all of their IP was because of the fiascos that Ericsson caused. And they say, okay, you kids can't be trusted to play with your toys properly, so we're going to lend them out to someone else, and hopefully they can.
Hunter's team that they had was an A+ team. They had multiple White Wolf veterans of old and new. I thought, and Ivan from Hunters is freaking incredible, and they had a lot of individuals that would have made an LA by Night with Werewolves very well.
Yeah, unfortunately, Modifius, the guys who had the license for Vampire, completely fucked that up by taking, 2 years to actually get something released?
More than that.
And then it was terrible?
Yeah. Fall of London was the follow-up to the Camarilla and Anarch books. It was an SAS, it was a playthrough, and I have yet to run it. I would love to run it.
You really wouldn't, trust me.
The problem is I would take one look at it, I would read through it, and I would rewrite half of it.
Yeah, no, it is aggressively bad. The V5 stuff that Onyx Path did was fantastic.
It's very good.
But like I said, Modifius basically sat on the license for 2 years, didn't do anything with it. When they finally did do something with it, they fucked it up. And Paradox said, screw it, we're bringing everything back in-house. We're giving it to a Chili since he seems to be a grown-up.
I know that, I believe Dawkins had said at one point in time, Matthew Dawkins is a veteran writer, freelance, but he's worked heavily with World of Darkness.
And is one of the best writers in the current generation of World of Darkness creators.
One of the best writers. He's on the Pentex board, apparently. I've used him in my games.
Yeah, that's from the Book of the Worm 20th anniversary Kickstarter. One of the upper tiers was you get to be one of the board of Pentex. We will write your character in and have artwork done.
Did he win it, or did he just put himself in it?
No. He, as far as I know, he did pledge for that tier. It was
Nice.
Before, like, he got that tier and it paid into the Kickstarter before he was hired to work on the book.
Technically speaking,
and I guess they decided to go ahead and honor it.
He is the writer of the most recent Werewolf book. He is the writer of the field guide to Pentex,
which is
book.
delightful.
It's wonderful, and his picture is on it. I've used stuff from that. They even addressed the anti-vax controversy.
Which, in a really good way.
They did it in a very good way.
But I think that part of that was him desperately trying to backpedal from the nonsense that Ericsson forced on Onyx Path when they were doing Changing Ways.
Changing Ways... Parts I like, parts I hate.
Yeah.
You know I hated
I
when
wish
people
that
messed
they
with
had
my
written
stuff.
it like they had
That's an impressive amount of
written
equipment.
It's
the
the bare
Forsaken
minimum for
4
leading a handful of
passbook, where it's
activists
like
against a
rebuild.
megacorp like Endrin.
Haven't changed
like,
much, have
like
you?
there's a
Aside
couple
from
Forsaken
good
books
lines
that
on your face.
basically
Thanks, asshole.
changed the rules.
You know,
I wish
always
they
knew
wrote
you'd
it like
come
that.
back. It was just a matter of when.
Yeah.
This isn't
Instead,
quite
you
the
know,
reunion I had
thing
in
is, the
mind.
bulk of the book
But it's
is
a
good.
happy one.
But
I
there's
heard about
two
your handiwork at the
sidebars
mine.
that are a problem. One is
Donna.
some low-key anti-vaxxer shit.
Cahal?
And
must
the
have a
other
lot
is
to
the
talk
sidebar
about.
full of
I'll go
transphobia.
check on the solar panels. Catch you later.
Yeah,
Donna,
they
I-
edited that and updated that,
How are
I'm
you
told.
doing? You've grown.
I don't think it's actually
It's
been
not
changed
worth
in the
trying to
copy of the
rebuild
book
that
that's
bridge
available, but I would bet anything it's
Not after
it's going to
abandoning me for
quietly
5
never
years.
be mentioned again.
Okay, so I from a
I'm
strict
sorry.
werewolf elder point of
do you
view,
think an
I
apology is
understand
going
where
to
they
get
were
you?
coming from.
You know,
However,
It was hard enough
the
to get over
way that
Mom's
they
death,
worded it and the
but
way they
dealing with
made
the
that
fact that you
decision
chose
was
to leave me
horrible
behind
in
when I
terms of
needed you most.
gameplay, horrible in terms
That
of
left a scar.
modernization,
You were so
and
focused
horrible
on
in
doing
terms
what you
of
thought
just
was
an
right
ethical call.
that you never
Yeah,
thought
no,
about
it's
what it might do to
there's
me.
an interesting story to be told there. They just weren't the ones doing it. I mean, let's be honest, some of the more traditional Black Fury Karns are probably Turforama.
Yeah, so
I
for
don't
those that
blame
are
you
like,
for holding
what?
against me.
Basically, what happened
But I still
was
stand by my
Werewolf.
choice. I spent those 5
Werewolves
years
are supposed to
finding my way
breed.
back
They
to
are.
the
They
man
don't
I was.
tell that in the stories very well, but
Even
they're a
if you were
dying
with
race,
me,
and they have less and less warriors
been
every
me.
year. And as
You'd have been
a
just as alone.
result,
I was in no state to
there
look after you.
are some
couldn't
breeding
have been the
problems.
father you
They
needed.
they don't have enough warriors. They're a
I
dying
wasn't.
race. In fact, in the Rage
Stop,
Across
Cahal.
the World
I'm
book,
really not in the
there
mood to
is
hear you rewrite
one
family
individual
history.
that
Endrin just carved
tells
a
a
bloody
story
wound into
about
my
how
brain.
she's willing to do her
They
duty
killed
to
my
Gaia
friends.
and have a
Right now,
child. However,
all I care about is
she's
tearing
not
Endrin apart.
directly
told me
attracted
you and Ava
to
were
the
undercover at
opposite
Endrin during the
sex,
attack.
and it was
Well,
That's
she
right.
explicitly,
really
I managed
frustrating.
to
it's not even
infiltrate the
dancing.
fracking
She
site.
explicitly says,
We
no,
just
I'm a
upped my
lesbian,
security
but
clearance, too.
I'll
We
do
got
what I have
access
to
the
do.
protected data.
which is
This is the
which is
best
an
chance we've
awesome
ever
conflict
had taking
for
Endrin
a
down.
character to
There's something
have.
from the inside.
Just to say, I will do my duty, and I
You've
will
seen how
put my
bloodthirsty
own
Endrin is.
desires
Did you know they have a price on your head?
behind
They're not
my
first,
duty. That is an
and they're not
incredible
about to
character
scare
arc
me
to
into
have.
stopping.
That I could, as a storyteller,
too
could
many
write
already.
stories
And
upon
if we
left
won,
and right.
how will we
That is
honor
a
their
fun
memory?
hook.
Yeah, no,
However,
it would have to be
comes
handled carefully, but it's
Besides,
something that
Endrin
a
doesn't
group of
suspect me
adults
at
can
all.
handle.
I'm secure over
yeah,
there.
100%.
Secure.
Endrin has full confidence in me. Hell, the whole team at the fracking
And then
site
there's
looks
the way
at
that
my
they
expert
dealt with it.
chemical
Yeah.
analyses.
But in
As long as I stay their
changing
golden
ways,
girl,
they
there's
pretty
no
much
way
do
they'd imagine
three
I'm
things
connected to
that
those
drive me
scary
crazy. The
eco-terrorists.
first one is
Least of all the
they
king.
really say there's a lot of distrust
Endrin's
about
built a
anyone
fracking
changing
site.
their gender
It was a rush
permanently
job. They'd set it up
because
and posted
this is who
guards
Gaia
before I
made
had
you,
any
and
time
that's
to
canon.
react.
According to the
Danger to
canon
nature
of
and the
Werewolf
spirits
lore,
alike.
if
Those
you
sites are one of
change
the
your
greatest
auspice,
threats
your
Gaia faces
the moon
today.
that you were born under, if you
Hurts
were a
my
full
heart
moon,
to
you were a
live there.
warrior. If you
I also
were
know that I'm
a
the
new
best
moon,
chance
you
we've
are
got
a
of putting a
rogue,
stop
you are a
to it.
trickster. If you
Soon.
change that, it is considered a quote-unquote affront to Gaia,
I was
and that
with
is
Rodko
something
and
that
Ava.
is like why
Honestly,
Gaia made
it
you.
was
Why
hard
would
at
you go
first.
against her? She's the
Rodko
All-Spirit.
was-
And the same thing with
He was really mad at himself.
your
you
tribe. The
going away.
tribe, a little bit
Mom's
less so,
death.
but you
He
picked the tribe.
obsessed
A
over my
tribe
first
totem
change.
spirit
Trained me
reviewed,
for months and
and
months.
like
But as
going
I
through the whole
trained,
tribe
I
thing is
started
incredible if you read all of
I
it.
don't want to go through my first
Going
change.
through it and
you
changing it
scared?
is a big deal
Fuck
as
no.
well, and for
Just
you
don't
to
wanna be a
change
guard.
that also gets you
You're all too
distrust.
unstable.
So
Mom wasn't
for
a
you
guard,
to
and
change
she was one of the
your
best fighters the County had
gender
ever seen.
according to
I
several
think that's why I
elders
drifted
could be
toward Ava
considered
and
to
her
be an
way of doing
affront to
things.
Gaia in the same way changing your
Fortunately,
auspices.
Rodko
That's the way they
mellowed
argued
after a
it,
while.
and that's fucking bullshit.
So I've
Sorry.
noticed.
I know you're on Twitch.
There are a
Yeah,
lot
well,
more
there's
humans
also
in
the
the
fact
clan
that,
now
that
than when I left.
yeah, basically,
It took him
gender
some
affirming
time to come
surgery
around,
just
but he
doesn't
finally
work
realized that
unless
Ava
it's done with
yeah,
silver,
that.
served
with
Gaia
unless
just
it's done
as
with
well as
silver
his did.
implements, which you know
Now
what are the
he's got no
odds.
problem with the idea of working with
'cause,
humans.
you know,
Or
blades,
my choice to
they're,
follow in
chemicals,
Mom's footsteps.
werewolves, healing. That makes character in character. That makes makes sense. It doesn't have to do
You
it though.
really do take after
You're coming
your
up with reasons for plot-related
Took me
purposes
back at
to
first.
I miss her
push
too,
prejudices.
Carl.
Yeah, that's the
I
thing.
think
It's
about her every day.
She would have been proud of you.
in canon. Yes, that's
You
how
say
it
so.
works. This is not something they needed to come out and canonize.
Yeah. And that is a
proud of you,
problem
too.
among
That's nice of you to say and
White
all,
Wolf
but
players
I
in a
know
lot of
you
cases.
didn't want me to follow her
I
path.
knew
That you
someone
wanted me
who
to
I
be a
probably
warrior like you
shouldn't
and
name
I don't know
that
about that.
felt that
But Garu's life has
the
its share of
monuments
problems,
of
too.
old
I can't blame
in
you for
game
following your mother's example.
should stick up and not
She
be
really was
changed
exceptional.
because you can't change
She
history. And then I'm
sacrificed
like,
herself
well,
for Gaia.
what about the monuments
And
of
she
now? You
didn't
want to keep
abandon
Confederate
me,
monuments
so I
up?
know.
And he was like, well, we can't forget about the
Anyway,
past. That
Ava
happened.
and I will
And
keep
I told
working
him to
at
go
Endron's
fuck.
fracking site.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna take those assholes down.
No,
from the
no, I've had
inside.
people come at me. Oh, you just hate Southerners, bitch. I'm from Birmingham. Try again.
Sink
You got
Endron
that
from the
accent when you get
inside.
angry.
I do.
And how do you plan on doing it?
A while back, Ava, Rodko,
So
and
yeah,
I
the
discovered
camera.
that Endron's
Back to
injecting
Erickson
its new
and the
recruits with a special
fiasco.
serum that makes them more.
The Camarilla book came out,
Yeah, I saw it myself when I was in their training center.
in which Erickson
the
made it
injection
canon
transforms people.
that
Makes them
the
stink.
ongoing persecution and
to it than
mass
that.
murder of
When I
LGBT
first
people
joined Endron's
in,
ranks,
was it
I was
Bosnia?
trying to figure out what was going on with their
Yep.
biofuel
Or is it
project.
Chechnya?
But
Either way.
while I
It's
was
both.
analyzing
One
the
of them.
formula
Eastern
for the
Bloc.
biofuel, I noticed an encrypted
Was a
molecule within it.
vampire plot
No
to
employees had
distract from
access
what
to its
else they were
composition.
doing in the
That
country,
same
and that the
molecule
president of the
is in the
country was
substance they're
actually a
injecting their troops
thin-blooded
with,
vampire.
as well as another project.
Stupid!
And they just could not process why anyone thought this wasn't okay.
The Earthblood Protocol. Any idea what that's about?
Not yet. But
To
that
quote
can wait
one of
until
my
after we
favorite
figure out what
films
this mystery
of all
molecule
time.
actually is. Once we
Stupid!
figure out what
You're
that mystery
so
molecule really is, we'll
stupid!
know what they're pumping their
Yeah, but
soldiers with,
this
and
fiasco
their plans
made
for this
international
biofuel.
news,
Then
as,
we'll leak that
needless
info
to
to
say, the
everyone
government of
who listens,
Chechnya
lock
took
the
issue with
biofuels launched,
this.
and hopefully put the
I
final
think there
nail
were
in
some
Endron's
lawsuits
coffin.
involved. I'm not sure how that
Thing
works
is,
internationally.
Right now, the encryption they're using on their data is impossible to break.
Yeah, at that
That's
point,
why we came
Paradox is
back.
like, okay,
We
you've
wanted to tell Rodko
created
how
multiple
we were stuck
incidents,
and figure out
you've
what to do from here.
caused
How
us a
can I
lot of
help?
trouble. You've caused,
If you
honest to
wanna
God,
help,
international
go meet with
incident.
Ava.
You're out.
She and Rodko will be figuring out our next steps.
You kids can't play with your toys.
All
We're
right,
taking them
I could
away.
check in with her and then
And
have
it
a talk
caused
with
the
Rodko.
really good Hunters Entertainment
idea where I'll
team
find her?
to
Buy our
lose
solar
their
panels.
license, which
If
is a
you've got
damn
any other
shame, because
questions,
if there's
you'll find me
one
at the
group that I
festival.
trust with Werewolf,
They need me.
it was that group.
Like I said, I think right now in everything that we've kind of seen so far is internally at White Wolf. There's still a lot of rearranging going on with Achille taking over, and they're still working out a lot of their internal stuff. They're trying to figure out just what the fuck is going on with Bloodlines 2.
So Bloodlines 2 was reportedly canned
doing,
2
big
weeks,
guy?
or was it 1 week after
Figured
this
I'd get
game
out of the
came
way and
out?
let
You have a theory.
Catch up with 80.
My
From the look on
guess
your face, it doesn't
is
look like it went
that
well.
it came down to a mixture of it had been in development for what, 2-3 years, and they didn't have anything to show for it.
She's still angry at me for leaving.
A lot of the creative team somehow
Shit,
ended up
being a
fired for
teenager's
reasons
bad
no
enough,
one's
but
talking about,
Luke Miller's
but was a
death,
complete
your
surprise to them.
exile was all hard on you.
My
But you
guess
did what you had
is
to.
it was a
You
mixture
had to get away
of
from us to get yourself
the new
back on
management
track.
team with the Chili and his
That's what I
guys
tried to
came
tell
in,
her.
looked at it,
I've been telling her that for
and
years.
it was just an solid
used to
hour of
pain, though.
yikes.
You're back now. It'll
And
pass. Just give it time.
Sweet Killer's fingerprints
Donna told me
were
about
all
your
over
mission
it.
to infiltrate the
Combining
fragments.
that with the
Yeah, about that. We're currently at a
Cyberpunk
roadblock.
2077
Endron's data
incident,
encryption is uncrackable.
and the fact
So
that,
she
it turns
said.
out that even
Our only way
CDPR
to get our hands on
cannot
that
weather
data
having
is to
that
take it
broken a
directly
game
from the
come
server
out.
in their lab. But surveillance is tough.
Yeah.
Even
White Wolf
Donna couldn't get
evidently
nailed
has
without
decided,
being caught.
fuck it,
And I don't think I
we're
could
taking
create
it
a
away
big
from
enough
this developer.
distraction
They're
to
not
draw
dealing with it
security's
anymore.
eyes away.
The game will be out in 2021. We don't know when it'll be out. We'll let you know when we know.
Which is a damn shame, because apparently last
What's
year at
Rodko think
E3,
about
or
you
not
two
last
going
year at
undercover
E3, but there
like
were
this?
As
maybe
you
2
might
years ago at
imagine, he was a
E3,
little
but there have been reports either
resistant
way
at first. But once he
that
understood what
there
we
were
wanted
playable
to do,
versions that
he
were
gave us the green
fun
light.
out there. There were
Sounds like you've got
reports,
something in
there were
mind.
videos. We have videos
Want
of
to
like an
draw
hour,
security's
2 hours,
attention,
3 hours worth
you
of
have to hit
footage
them hard.
that
Blowing
look
up the
solid.
refinery
They
should
look
be the trick.
complete. They don't look
But that's not
polished, but
happening
they look
until we get
good.
into the
They look
fracking site.
fun. They look
That's step one.
really
The site is
enjoyable. Some of
protected
them
by an
just
electric fence
outright
and a
look
myriad
fun.
of cameras,
I
all
don't
of
know
which are
what
powered by
happened.
the
Now
damn
I
engine
can
acquired when it
speculate
bought the
that
site.
they found something that
Somehow,
horrified them
into
and
the
got
dam and
their
connected to the network,
former lead
I could
producer
access their
fired,
system
and
discreetly.
they got
allowing you to cut the power
another
to their
group
defenses
now
without
coming
their
in and
nose.
fixing them.
Exactly.
There's a rumor that
Don't
I've
worry
heard,
about the fracking site
and this
after
is
that.
my rumor.
Okay.
Um,
I'll go talk to Rock
Vampire
to see
the
how he wants to make
Masquerade
up the
Bloodlines,
teams.
the game everyone
Thanks,
loves,
Gahal.
was
good to
made
have
by
you
a group
back.
called Prokia.
But if you don't mind,
Prokia has
I'd like
made
to take
some
a few moments for
incredible
myself. Lost some
games.
friends during
They
the
have a
attack.
lot of people that
Don't
were
worry.
in the original
Take all the time
Fallout.
you need.
They have a lot of people from the Planescape Torment team as well.
Temple of Elemental Evil is still a masterpiece.
Elemental Evil. Arcana
any
of
news on the group that was supposed
Ironworks,
to
or
launch
Arcana
the
of Matter,
attack
whatever
on
it
the
was.
Sunburst reactor?
And this was their last game before they went belly up, unfortunately. And Bloodlines was kind of cursed.
Part because Activision forced them to shove it out the door before it was actually finished, but
On the same weekend as Half-Life 2.
with the same engine except not as good a version of it.
It's obviously a front.
Yeah, it needed another month just for polishing, or if you're a fan, another 10 years because they're still updating it.
Yeah, the updates are amazing.
They added a lot of content. It's super playable. It's really fun. If you
So,
have not played it,
you able to talk
it
with your
is
daughter?
Deus Ex-like.
Yeah, if you buy it on Good Old Games, that version actually when you install it, actually has the most recent fan patch installed.
As you might imagine, there's still a lot of...
Yeah, it's a great
Between the
game.
attack
I
on the
have bought it
Karen and
for
your sudden
probably half a
return.
dozen friends.
She's going
It's a
through a
great
lot right
game.
now.
But
Give her
with
time.
where was I going with
Ava
this?
said the same thing.
They
hope
did a
you
pullback.
both
Here's
like
my
it.
theory.
Speaking of
The
Ava and
troop
Adana,
for Trokia
They told me
split
about
off
the plan to
into
get their hands
really
on the
two
encrypted
groups.
data inside the fracking sites.
One of them
to bring Endron
went
down
off
from the inside.
to- you know
Yes,
what? I'm even gonna
I
look it
think
up.
they've got
Give
the
me a
right
second.
idea. If we manage to
I'd say,
chase
yeah,
Endron
I've
from this
bought the
region,
game for a few friends,
they'll just
including
continue
Boozy,
their
who
dirty
it apparently
work
just
elsewhere.
broke his brain,
It's
so
time
I'll have
for
to
a
stream it.
decisive blow. So we follow Ava and Adana's plan. We'll attack the dam to bring down the defenses of the fracking site. I want you to lead the incursion. You coordinate with Ava
But yeah,
and
it's,
Adana over comms.
it's still kind of sad
Allow
that
them
Paradox
access to
bought
the
White
dam's
Wolf with the
network.
expectation
Ava
that
gave me the
Ericsson
rundown.
could basically build it
But
into
if I set
their
off a single
MCU. There was
alarm,
going to be a
things will get
Netflix
very dangerous
series and
very
video
quickly.
games and
No. One
Okay,
sign something's
Jason D.
amiss.
Anderson, Tim Kaine,
Sanko
and Leonard
will be at the
Bronowski.
dam
Jason
before
D.
you
Anderson,
know
he
it.
went to
So
go
while you're sneaking through the
form
inside
in
of the dam,
Exile
I'll be
Studios,
creating a
which
diversion on
went
the
off
outside.
and did
That should
Wasteland
keep her
2,
attention
great
off
game. He
you.
left
yeah.
And
in
even
Exile
if
to join
someone
Turtle
does
Rock.
raise the alarm at the dam,
Turtle Rock
Tank
did
Girl
some Left 4
will have
Dead,
no idea why
but
you're really there.
he rejoined Exile,
You can count on
and
me.
Exile was picked up
Excellent.
by
We'll have
Microsoft.
Declan meet you near the
Microsoft
dam.
the same year picked
He's
up
got
another
the
title
relays you'll
called
place to get Ava and
Obsidian
Adana
Entertainment.
access
You know
to
what they
Endron's
made?
network.
So many good things.
They made a lot of good things.
Neverwinter Nights 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fallout New Vegas.
The Outer Worlds. The director,
There's still
one of the
a
lead
long way to
programmers
go.
for Bloodlines was the
But
director
life's
for The
picking
Outer
up
Worlds,
again
which
in
I
the
liked.
cairn.
He was also
Ludmilla.
he was a programmer
hope
for
you can
Pillars
see
of
this
Eternity, Tyranny, one of
wherever
my
you are.
favorite games of all time. Fucking love, I love Tyranny. Tyranny is a great game. Outer Worlds was great. Leonard Bronowski, he did Diablo 3. I'm sorry. Okay. But
No,
yeah,
he should be
Fallout,
sorry.
Fallout 2. So here's my theory. I think that they get the band back together again. Obsidian and In Exile join together. Microsoft buys Paradox, or Microsoft buys the license off of Paradox, because maybe it doesn't know too good. And they go up to Jason, Tim, and Leonard, the team from Trokia, and say, "Hey, we have this game 80% done. We're gonna make it 50% done. Fix it, bring it back, make it your own like you did 15, 20 years ago. And we'll even give you Jason Carl to do it too."
Yeah, yeah, that would kind of track. I know, again, with Achille in charge now, he worked pretty tightly with them on Bloodlines. He was one of the big... Yeah, he worked real tightly with good. Vampire Revised was his baby.
I don't have a lot of faith in Indra either.
Achilles a good guy.
Yeah, he can be a little abrasive, but let's be honest, this is an industry that is not known for its personable creatives.
I have some issues with what he says, but I respect him more than enough to change my name. How about that?
Fair enough.
Either way, I think they get the band. And there were rumors that Paradox would buy that Paradox was considering buying.
Hey,
Excuse me, Paradox was
all
being
right.
considered to be
Deckard.
bought by Microsoft anyway.
You would
That
lend
was
to
a rumor
mankind?
that has been around
That's
for
right.
a little
Ava's told me
while
all
now.
about you. It's an honor,
And
really.
if
I
they
don't
were
know
going to
about
do
that.
it,
I hear you
might
got
be
the relay
soon.
I need
And
to
there
install
was
the
another
dam.
rumor that was going around
Yeah,
that
got 'em right here.
Paradox knows who's
Need
going to be
anything else?
working on Bloodlines after Hardsuit, the
What do you
original
know about
developers.
the dam?
Yeah.
After you
They're
took
not
down
They
the
can't
training
announce it yet,
center,
though.
Yeah.
they doubled down on security.
And no,
at
and
all
I
the other
wouldn't
sites
be
in
at
the
all
region.
shocked to
Even
hear
if Rocco draws their
Microsoft
attention, you're still going
buys
to have a
White
lot of
Wolf,
resistance.
at the very least.
They've even brought in
Because
some of
they're
their
right now
elite
they're
guards from
desperate
Nevada.
for
And
something
these
to
guys
get
are huge.
distinguish them
I don't
from
even know if you could
Sony
call
and
them human
PlayStation.
anymore.
We've met,
Sony and
but I had no
PlayStation,
idea
their
they
whole
were
thing
from
for
Nevada.
PS4 and
the training
PS5
center
has
you
been,
took out
hey,
wasn't the only
we've
part
actually got
Andrew had in its
exclusives.
that figures.
Microsoft wants that.
How'd you meet Ava anyway?
We're investigating her, really.
And honestly,
Used to be
it's
a cop,
what it would take
tasked
to
with
get my
putting her and
fanboy ass to
Lambda
finally buy an
mankind away.
Xbox.
And I tried. But Ava runs a clean
Well,
operation.
That's
I just bought a new
Couldn't make the
computer,
bosses happy.
so I would freaking
They
love
told me
it.
to
Like,
falsify
I bought this new
evidence to
computer
bring it
back
down.
in November
That's when I realized they were in Andrew's
for
pocket.
Vampire
I tried calling him out,
Two.
but the whole precinct came down on me like
and
a ton of
probably
bricks.
Cyberpunk before I
had
knew
no
better.
choice but to run. And I rented
And
Ava. I pledged my life
that
to
turned
fighting
out
Andrew.
to be a great
You and me.
decision because
You
Build
know who it
Redux
is you're
screwed up
working
twice,
with, right?
and they sent me a computer
This
that
isn't
was
just
broken
ideology
twice.
for us.
Yeah.
I
I
say,
know.
Big Puppy Stewart
know what you
says,
Ava told
I
us
hope that the
everything.
stop sign makes a cameo
me,
in
Kyle.
Bloodlines 2.
We're all on the same
Actually, the
side
stoplight,
We're
or the
fighting for
stop
the
sign
survival
was
of the
originally
planet,
planned to be
whatever it costs.
pre-order DLC for Bloodlines 2.
That should be good.
Don't know if that'll still
Before
be
you
the
go,
case
I've
after
got a favor to
whatever's
ask.
going on behind
We've
the scenes
identified a
happens,
key
but
player
yeah,
working
it
at
was
the
actually
dam.
going to be pre-order DLC.
We think she's got important information on whatever Endron's up to in Nevada. Her name's Victoria Vokes. We need you to question her.
Yeah, no,
Get whatever info out of her you can.
I admit I
Keeping
don't
the
have,
clearance
I
safe is my top priority.
for reasons that
But
are
I'll see what I can
complicated,
do.
I don't have steady
Thanks.
enough
Good
hands
luck,
to
Kyle.
properly build a machine these days. But I basically I paid for the components and basically paid Gracie to build me a beast of a PC. Mostly for this and Bloodlines 2. Specifically because I wanted to stream this. Live and learn.
But yeah, yeah. But on the bright side, you're gonna have a killer machine. I'm gonna play Control. That's gonna be great.
I hear good things.
It's basically SCP. It's a mix of SCP meets Orpheus, is what I'm told.
You have my attention.
It looks really good, and it is if you have a new computer, look at getting Xbox Game Pass because it's I believe free there.
No, they're working for us. Nothing to worry about.
I think it's the way I understand. I think it's like a combo deal. You get it. You get if you buy it on Xbox, you also get it on PC.
All right, so I got to talk about this one level right here. I spent a good 45 minutes trying to do this myself.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not actually possible.
I don't think it is possible. I spent 45 minutes on this one stage doing stealth, trying everything. I bought a power to shoot out the cameras. It's not possible.
Oh well, everyone just gets to die messy then.
I need to get out of here.
I love how they say I need to get out of here and then don't actually run. Yeah, it's... What I'm hoping is that years down the line we can look at this game and say, you know, this is a interesting and bizarre what might have been for Werewolf 5th Edition.
I guarantee we will get something.
How's our silver bullet stock looking?
Eventually, I'm honestly surprised we didn't get something for the other Werewolf games. I know we got some leaks.
We're gonna take a look.
Which other Werewolf game?
The DC one and Heart of Gaia.
Ah. Wait, there was a Dreamcast one?
There was a Dreamcast one.
Okay, I only knew about the Saturn and Saturn one and
Maybe
Hard
it was Saturn is what I'm thinking of. I'm probably thinking of the Saturn.
To be fair, late in the Saturn's life, a lot of its development was shifted over to Dreamcast. Like Shenmue was originally supposed to be on the Saturn.
Oh, makes sense.
Which
honestly, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's something I do have on the docket to stream at some point is Yakuza, aka what if Shenmue was fun? Or what if Grand Theft Auto is actually as funny as it thinks it is? I do not have good feelings for Grand Theft Auto, but I fucking love Yakuza, and I will be sharing it with the world.
It is a fun series.
Hello there.
Okay, let's take a swig of our angry Irish juice. Jesus fucking Christ.
What does the commander intend to do about these activists?
Oh God, what the fuck?
Sit tight. Dismissed.
I said, consider again. That's what makes me think that a lot of what happened here was Erickson, because he already had this weird ass fixation on dialing everything back to first edition, and yeah, the drunken Irishman shit is pure first edition.
It's an interesting thing to do in character. I've seen that prejudice pushed by Storyteller characters, and it is a interesting line to draw. However, it's not something that is, even in the 90s, that was considered very important.
Oh yeah, that even and they did this with a lot of the more problematic stuff in the canon. Was with revised edition, they started dialed that way back. I don't think it even gets mentioned in W20.
I think that they keep up. You know what? I'll look real quick. I have it bookmarked. Like as
guys, you could have walked out of here alive. I didn't even notice you there. You could have left and lived.
Bend down. Sit back up immediately. Need reinforcements.
Not gonna lie, with a lot of these games, I desperately want a button that just lets me stop in the middle of combat, look at the last two dudes alive, and like, guys, you can walk away. You don't have to die screaming.
It tiptoes around it from what I can read real quick. It talks about how the Viana are they harass their packmates to loosen up, and their mantra is live for today because tomorrow might not come, which is an awesome life mantra to begin with.
Yeah. So they maintain the drink, song, and story without explicitly leaning into drunken Irishmen.
Ava,
which
I'm at the
first
entrance
edition
to the
leans a
site.
little too hard into. Second edition a little bit better on, but not as
I'll give you the targets
tribe
once
book
you're in.
specifically.
Try to be careful.
Not.
Don't worry. This isn't my first rodeo.
Yeah, though, there's a lot of the Fianna that are their own special brand of problematic.
I love the Fianna. My last name is a derivative of Fianna, and they are one of my favorite Celtic mythology. I love the Macrallans. There's a lot of wolves in it. There's a lot of giants in it. Surprise. There's a lot of really cool Celtic mythology. Book of Kellis does an incredible job with it. Brave tells some really good stories. There's more Scottish. Scottish is more the white talent. The white talent. White talons. We'll go with that.
White howlers.
Thank you. White talons works too, I guess.
Well, the talons are going to be the next ones to fall to the farm, so.
But
yeah,
the Fianna have so much stuff, and if you look at World of Darkness, long as you see certain, and they did this really smart. I give them a lot of credit. There are certain sects that have direct relations with other splats. The Fianna are related very closely to the Changelings, and the what is it? The Silverfangs are closely related a little bit to some vampires. Shadow Lords are even closer related to some vampires. The Ukenda have some relations to mages, and the other way around works as well. The Gangrel, just in general, are closely related to werewolves. There is there's a clan of vampires that are closely related to the Changelings, the Daughters of Kipkatni?
The Kasayid.
The Kasayid, yes.
Yeah.
The Daughters are kind of related to the Black Furies.
Okay, let's go.
They're more Changeling. Yeah, you're right. Yours is more Changeling. Mages don't have a werewolf equivalent, but the mages themselves have the Tremere, which used to be a mage group. There's a lot of tribes that have direct connections to other splats, and that's just great design work.
It's just behind that.
Oh, how could I forget the Silent Striders and the Race?
Next week.
And the Mummies.
Around 20. Their survival rate is improving.
But yeah, no, something I'll credit is, again, Revised Edition, they spent a lot of time trying to walk back some of the really not okay cultural stuff. And one of them was, they actually like call out an entire sidebar about it in the Revised Beyond a Tribe book. We're like, yeah, we know in the last edition of this, we tried to tie this into what was going on in Northern Ireland and the struggles. That wasn't okay. That was not okay. It was not clever. We're really sorry for doing that. And let's just drop it from this point. Come to think of it, that was right around the same time as I said. There's a small sidebar forward in New York by Night. I think it's Achille that wrote it, where he said that he's writing this forward, just a few days after the 9/11 attack, and it's like, it's a terrible tragedy. We are not going to, it is not a part of this book. It is not something we are going to make part of the World of Darkness meta plot. They had some at least attempted to be mature about it. And this is where I will again note that Erickson has publicly stated that he considers Achille a coward for not integrating 9/11 into the meta plot.
Well, they did integrate 9/11 into the meta plot in 5th edition. They did it surprisingly in a good way, but it's not something that you want to supernaturalize. That's what you mean. Yeah, you don't want to make do not. That would have been a disaster.
Well, it's like, acknowledge that it happened, but don't try and say, oh yeah, it was a vampire plot or some nonsense.
That would be like saying COVID-19 is a blood-borne, thin blood related disease.
I promise if Erickson was still in charge at White Wolf, he would be attempting. I promise he would fucking do it.
Given how it came from bats, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I could see it as
okay, I have no idea what the hell I just did, but that was
pretty cool. I just needed the charge pallet. Yeah, you did the charge pallet. Didn't hit anything, so it went a long way. Yeah, because it came from bats, they could direct. Maybe that's why it got delayed.
Yeah, there's a non-zero chance.
What is that?
But no, the Erickson would absolutely try to say, oh yeah, COVID-19 is, Tremere was trying to take out the Thin Bloods, and this was this is the fallout. And I swear to God, if I open a future vampire book and I see anything similar to that sentence, someone's getting me.
I don't think that they would touch it, though. I could see it's too soon.
Yeah.
But maybe in 5-10 years time.
Yeah. And again, Achilles seems to have better taste than that.
Achilles is pretty cool. I like him.
I respect the man. I respect the man's work.
I don't agree with everything he does, but I definitely give him respect.
And he did write the Black Dog Games Factory chapter of Subsidiaries. So
yeah. You know who I really wish that they got?
What's that?
He worked on Forsaken. He recently wrote a book about a pandemic, and he wrote about Star Wars. And he got kicked off Twitter. I think he got canceled.
Who was this?
And he wrote...
Because that's a rather large Venn diagram that you drew out.
He wrote Dude of Awesome.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Who am I thinking of?
I'm spacing on his name, but I know who you're talking about. Being name's bad. If he had a persona, I would remember that name. But,
Did you hear that? Did I say that?
What's that?
Mr. Chuck Wendig.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I don't think he didn't get canceled by Twitter. He got canceled by Disney.
What did he do?
He said mean things about Trump. And apparently it got some shareholders who were canceled over it.
Yeah, that sounds like him.
Yeah, he wouldn't hide his politics on Twitter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, at the time, Ike Perlmutter still had a lot of power at Disney.
Yeah.
That Spar said, Wendig cursed on Twitter, so Disney fired him from the Vader comic.
Yeah. I like Chuck Wendig. I started reading, I think it was February of last year, The Wanderers, and by March I had to stop.
Yeah, no, so I actually really, he did the Aftermath trilogy for Star Wars when Disney took over and was establishing their new EU. And actually,
I heard it was excellent good, yeah.
It's good. It's a better experience in audiobook than it is prose because he has this really strange present tense prose style. It's just awkward as hell when actually reading pages, but it's just fine when you're listening to it.
Very nice. Yeah, he was very big. I know he worked on Changeling. I know he worked on The Lost. I know he worked on Requiem. I know he worked on a couple of general World of Darkness books. Because that's really what it is. I think he worked on he was in the very end group. I think he worked on Time of Judgment.
Don't waste time.
Let me see here. Oh, he worked on he worked on Demon. Nice.
Descent or Fallen?
The first one.
So Fallen.
Right? The Angels? I like the Angels was fucking awesome. He did not write Days on Fire though. Days on Fire is an absolutely incredible Demon the Fallen book.
Yeah. Well, that's so hey, to bring it back around to the Patreon I mentioned earlier, that will be the first book review for Inferno Gaming. Will be the Demon the Fallen Corvus.
That's a lot of that.
Well, it's the Inferno. I figured it's only right that the devil gets his due.
If you do that, do a good hard look up at the code at the end of the book, because that was solved recently.
Really?
They didn't solve the code for that was in the end of the book for quite some time, and there was an auction that had someone's notes that contained hints, and eventually I think no one figured it out, and they told them how to do it, and I decoded it myself, and I definitely want to drink more Ovaltine.
Ah. I know they had something similar at the very end of the Hunter core book too. So.
I don't think I've read that one.
I think that it's related. I think that was related to the original plan to have Hunter basically be modern age Exalted. But
I like Exalted a lot. I don't like the plot.
I like the aesthetics of the game. I like the setting. The mechanics just get so completely out of control that it's a ridiculous mess to actually run.
Yeah. It's legit possible to get like 30 dice as a level 1 character.
Yeah, like it's a pain in the ass. Fucking 3rd edition. I think the individual charms that your characters can have, there's like 40, 50 pages of it.
Oh, 3rd edition. Oh
yeah, that fiasco.
You want to talk about 2nd edition? How they literally have a 150-page book called the Book of the Errata.
Okay, I thought that was a joke.
No, that's legit.
Of course it fucking is.
How many?
Yeah, I knew that 2nd edition was not well loved by, well, basically anyone.
No, it is loved. It is dearly loved because of the amount of content in it. Like, people adore 2nd edition. The problem is, as it went along, more and more shit came out, and it became more and more imbalanced, so they went back and buffed the original Solars, and they basically said, this is overpowered, if you do this, you're screwed up. If this is overpowered, don't do this. This is overpowered, you can use it, but it's overpowered and it breaks your soul. This is stupid, so if someone wants to counter it by spending a willpower, you can do it. They basically went through the whole books and were like, let's balance the game.
Anyway?
We're trying to find out more about.
I say, Big Puppy Stewart says, I have a WOD lore question. When people use true faith or any religiously based powers, where is that coming from? Is Gaia granting mortals powers like God, or is there gods and spirits that are granting such powers?
I want the report on my desk first thing tomorrow morning.
You want to go, or should I go?
You want to start it off, and I'll chime in?
That is a good question. True faith is a weird one at times, because it's not a supernatural, like, traditional power. Like, if someone had, like, the way I understood it is belief in World of Darkness is one of the strongest powers that can be. Belief shapes the Umbra. So if you believe,
that's right.
like, if people believe in, like, a park, the Umbra will shape around it. Belief is extremely powerful in Changeling because the myths literally form the characters. It's a little less so in Vampire because it's Vampire. They are considered sort of like the sins, if you will. And in Mage, it's directly related to the powers that they can use without causing peril. So if you believe that something is completely impossible, reality will reject it.
Me?
And like if I just hold out my hand and I make a gun with it, and my hand turns into a gun, your reality is going to reject that. But if I were to, like, you know, flash my fingers in front of you and like a quick fireball comes out of it, and I'm wearing like really long sleeves, that's going to be something your brain recognizes and can come up
Only
with
a few scientists and senior
excuses
staff know
for,
the
so it's
details.
less vulgar.
And of course,
faith,
President
if you will,
Watkins.
is sort of the belief in a higher purpose that is so strong, and whether that belief is true or not, and whether that you've been imbued by it or not, that it warps reality.
What threat does a
So
handful
that
of self-righteous
the beliefs
forest-dwelling
of
hippies
vampires
pose?
that, you know,
What? Are they going to slogan
the
me to death?
holiness, if you will, can burn vampires is so strong in reality. There are some people that are proto-mage-like, and they can imbue that sort of rule of reality,
horrible.
that folklore of reality,
You don't
into
think-
reality, and
Could
cause
they be after me
damage
because
that
of the
way.
human testing?
That is how I.
You know, those prisoners, they'll do
Tell
anything
it.
for a commuted sentence
But
and a few years on our
different
payroll.
splats kind of explain
Anyone
it
who
differently.
agrees has to undergo a series of...
Though that's the most common
share that
one, is
information
that
with
it's a human belief. It helps that it explicitly says that it doesn't have to be. It's not like traditional vampire lore where you hold out a cross. It has just has to be a belief in something.
Tell me about the test.
As opposed to a specific religious faith.
We need your cooperation so the division can assess.
To go into one of my other nerdly fixations, it's
so these
canon
terrorists,
in the Marvel Universe that works that
they're a real
way.
threat.
The X-Men fought
Why
Dracula.
haven't you taken care of them already?
Yes, that's the thing that happened.
Okay. All I can tell you is that
Kitty
when we
Pryde
first
tried to
tested our
brandish a
biofuel in the
crucifix at
wild,
Dracula.
we
Didn't work
discovered
on her
something
because she's not a
very
Christian. He
peculiar.
grabs her by the throat
Some animals
and burns
exposed
the
to
shit out of his
exhaust
hand on the
fumes
Star of David that she's
changed.
wearing around her neck
They
because
became more
she's
resistant,
Jewish.
more aggressive. Once we discovered that, we came up
Yeah,
with a
Spark,
plan to
you have
test
to
the
have
effects
faith
on
for that to
humans.
work, Mr. Vincent. Remember?
You've tested on humans.
I
see.
What does it have to do with me?
I'm still consistently
Why am I being targeted by
falling back to the
terrorists?
fact that
Calm down, Mrs.
Paradox,
Fox.
before
The
everything
intelligence
blew up in
division
their
will take care
face,
of
was
the
planning
situation.
a World
have
of
my
Darkness
word.
Netflix series.
You promise? Just in case, could you get me some protection or bodyguards or
I could see it.
something?
Please,
Yeah,
Mrs.
oh no,
Vokes,
it'd be
focus.
would be great.
We believe you have
in the
data
right
on
hands, of
biofuel
course.
project
It's
somewhere on site. Is that correct?
that the right hands is the question.
Yes, that's
here.
right. My office is
I
at the
could see it.
dam. I should have one of those
I could
files
definitely see
open on
it.
my computer
The first
right now.
one?
In fact,
Give me your badge, Mrs. Vokes.
Believe it or not,
You'll need to
there
completely wipe your
was
hard
a
drive. Can't take any
drama
risks with that
in
sort
the
of thing.
mid to late 90s.
You understand?
Yeah, Sparf just mentioned in the chat a reboot
yes,
of
I
Kindred the
suppose I do.
Embraced.
Here,
Aaron Spelling had his hands directly in it, and it
This is a
actually got
nightmare.
good ratings for the time.
I'll stand
Yeah,
by for your
no, I've got the
instructions or
DVD
anyone you
set,
send.
which
I'll send some men to protect you as soon as I
it
can.
sure is a thing.
In the meantime, do not speak
It's-
about this to anyone.
It's
Thank you for
a
your
thing, yes.
cooperation, Mrs. Vokes.
I watched
Oh,
2
thank you.
episodes with a friend,
I
and
appreciate it.
it does not stick to
Ava,
canon very well.
did you get all that?
There's a lot of masquerade violations.
There's a lot of day walking.
There's a lot of day walking. There's a lot of issues with it, and it adds. It's not canon at all, even though the fact that the Prince of LA is just confusing in general. Not Prince of LA, it's Prince of San Francisco. San Francisco is a weird place.
Laughs
How are you
in
doing?
Anarch Free State.
Don't waste time.
San Francisco is a place that I would like another book from White Wolf to explore, because there has been a lot of there was a werewolf book that won a Bram Stoker Award that took place in San Francisco. There are multiple Changeling books, the Toy Box in the Attic, I think it's called, that were written that star in San Francisco. There have been multiple vampire books, including one that details with Prince Vandevar from LA by Night in San Francisco. There's a lot of references in Mummy, I believe.
I know there was a Kindred of the East book for it.
And there's the Kindred of the East book.
Killing
I've
Streets,
got
I
the
think.
data. We're good.
There was San Francisco by Night, which is the Kindred of the East X vampire crossover that I own somewhere.
Yeah, it's one of those books where, honest to God, I've owned it for years, but I have never gotten around to reading it.
Yeah, you're not missing anything.
You can say that for most of Kindred of the East, but
Kindred of the East was interesting. The war they botched horribly.
and by that
What?
we mean it's kind of super racist.
Strange.
I'm not the expert to talk about it. All I was told is skip it. I give credit. I give credit for trying it. I give credit for trying the Laban book, the Vampires of Africa, which I've been told is, for the most part, a good book, even though it's right in colonization stuff.
Yeah, I just remember one of the Onyx Path guys straight up said, yeah, if we were to do the 20th anniversary, there will never be a Kindred of the East 20th anniversary edition. Because to make it remotely acceptable, we would have to run it from the ground and start from scratch.
I think it would be right. And they can get powerful.
Oh yeah, no, it's hilariously overpowered anime supervillain.
I had a player in one of my games actually had a He was a... What's the right word? He was a immaculate conception werewolf. And what I mean by that was he had no Gaian blood in him at all. And somebody performed a rite of heritage on him, and I showed the player, this guy has a right score of 7. He has 6 successes right here.
Perfect. Adana,
He sees nothing for you.
they'll be ready in a few minutes.
And there are rules that kind of say that can happen, and I worked it directly into the plot, and the character I think had Fate 4.
Rod, go. How are you holding up?
And
All right for now. We'll be falling back.
he was an immaculate conception vampire, and not vampire, werewolf, excuse me. But it gets worse.
Of course it does.
I say, I'm gonna hate saying this out loud because it sounds horrible, and you're gonna say, "What the hell is wrong with you?" You're gonna yell at me.
See, now I'm curious.
You're gonna, but the way it was done, and this is a complete spoiler if you ever listen to my playthroughs. Actually, maybe it'll get more people to listen to my playthroughs. He basically there was an iron curtain around, shadow curtain around all of New Hampshire. I told you that. And 3 vampires immaculately concepted in New Hampshire. And they were told that they had 2 weeks to do their rite of passage. They did it. And they go, and I got my old pack to do the challenge, to do the word challenge for them. So whenever a werewolf joins a pack, a group of elders determine if it's right for them. So I had my old pack that I did a Storyteller game with, interview these 3 werewolves, excuse me. And they grilled the crap out of them, saying, "Why would you do this? What is wrong with you? That doesn't sound very Get a Fenrisy. That doesn't sound very Black Fury. That doesn't sound very Glasswalkery." And in fact, one of them, they said, "We're not approving you because we don't think you're very XYZ tribey." And it was really awkward, but I gave that pack the power to do that, and it was incredible roleplay, and I loved that entire night.
I sense a butt coming.
But player quit on me. Player didn't like it. But
okay, you told me about this guy.
Yep, but one of the best role-playing nights I've ever had. I sat back, I did nothing the whole night. I judged combat because there was a couple frenzies, because of course they're frenzies. But it was an incredible night of roleplay, and I had multiple people tell me that it was a night that they would never forget, because I gave them an honest-to-goodness surprise experience of players who had deep emotional connections to their characters interacting with other players with deep emotional connections to their characters. 2 trains passing the night, if you will. And one player didn't like it, and he left the game with 1 session. Anyway, basically, the players that were allowed got rank 5 powers. You know what? Rank 5 powers, here you go. You want to solve the plot? Here's a rank 5 power. To use it, though, costs 3 points of willpower. It's permanent willpower.
Yeah.
One of them took it up, and he's like, "Well, how much to take down the wall?" 6 permanent willpower. I only have 6 permanent willpower.
Okay, so this is going to be a heroic sacrifice then.
He said, "I'm going to do it." He depowers himself. He basically depowers himself because I said, it eats your noses.
So he lost the wolf.
Lost the wolf. Shadow curtain goes down, a million spirits come in, they rip him up. So the Korean player basically loses the wolf, eats his noses, eats his willpower, he goes 0 willpower, 0 noses. Yes, I know that shouldn't be able to happen, but I'm not bad at storytelling it. I whisper to the other player character, and I say, "Here is your prompt. Here's what you need to do." And she's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yep. This is what you need to do." And she walks me to the injured character's again. Says, how you feeling? What's going on? You can't change into a wolf, can you? No. It's gone, right? Yeah. Try to use the, spirit thing. It's like, nope, can't do it. No. There's something weird with you. You smell different. Man. Can you do that thing with the light ball that you used to do before? Holds his hand up. Fist curls it. Fire comes out of his hand. She looks at it, she smells it. That's not Gnosis. It smells like Gnosis. It's not Gnosis. You smell like a mage. Huh.
Second
I chime in.
Disconnected.
Player add Arite 3 to your sheet.
They'll make it look like everything's still up and running. Android won't notice a thing.
Really great scene. I had people message me, holy crap, I just got chills. I had actually a bunch of people watching me. It was really kind of cool. And to have this one character make a heroic sacrifice and get something cool in the end, he's like, so when are we starting a mage game? Ah! Yeah, it was... I am not a cruel storyteller, but I will make you work for it.
You know, my style is very Chris Claremont on X-Men. I'm all about long-running subplots and setting things up, months ahead of time.
Oh boy.
Because I'm a low-key masochist like that.
Oh my god.
Show yourself.
It's fun when you have someone get a plot, involve their character, giving you a modified version of a long-term character I had here to get going. I'm giving... It's always fun to, even from a storyteller, listen to little things like that, and you're not sure where it's going to go, because you can kind of never tell where it's going to go. In the game that I just mentioned, one of the player characters tried to track down their kinfolk father, and I told you this. Another player character got injured in the fight, their power and Wendi, and then killed that player character's father. It's like, you can't plan for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's tough as hell. Folks that are just getting into the hobby is learn to improvise. Learn to pull something out of your ass that you are going to need to frequently, especially if you have good, clever players.
That's the last terminal sorted.
The deceptors are ready, Ava. I'm on it.
I say this, quietly screaming about my current werewolf group for Rage Across New York and my endless rounds of shit. Wait, I spent a week designing that thing so they couldn't one-shot it. How did they?
Oh my god, yes! Like, if Carsey is listening, and any of the pack for my old group listening, I spent like a solid 8 hours on a map, and they completely skipped all of it by walking up to the elevator and rolling a 6 successes on an intimidation roll for the maitre d' guard elevator person to go up there. And I'm like, fuck. What can you do?
Yeah, no, I spent a week designing and balancing and rebalancing that story specifically so that this group could not just one-shot it like they had everything else they encountered. They set it on fire, ran it over with a U-Haul, backed the U-Haul up over it, and then shot it in the face just to be sure.
Yeah,
and right now, I know for a fact that Dingo is just laughing his ass off in the chat.
Let's see. I have to go see.
That being said, yes, I've gone over the character you give me for your introduction to Rage Across the Board. And, ooh, I've already got... You give me good toys to play with.
That character
is going to be delightful.
That character is a fun one.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun to write for him.
That character has a... I showed you that. That character has a gift named after him.
Yeah.
He has a gift in the official Storyteller Vault book.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has some baggage. He's a fun one. He was my very first... I used him in a live-action 24/7 IRC game back in the day. And he's got some fun baggage.
Oh, I remember those.
They were fun. That's how I met what? I didn't meet Arluza there. I think I met Carsey there. But Arluza played there. Carsey played there. A lot of people played there. A lot of people play at them still. They're great for inspiration. If you have the time and energy for it, I recommend trying it at least once. But I've never had one that has ever ended in anything but drama.
Oh yeah, every time I've participated in my share of them. Believe me, I've seen it. Okay, I'm not gonna go get out of here. I'm gonna bring everybody. Let's just get Name the game, kill the asshole with a minigun first.
And you get a lot of plot ideas behind those. They're fun because everything happens super organically.
Yeah.
But all the usual tropes of high school show up, or groups that don't like each other. There are people that have like way more power than you that just joined because they get powered because the storyteller likes them and lets them bring in an old character.
Let's be honest, the World of Darkness Lord has to rep it though for a reason. That's it. I'm not gonna drag LARPers because I know it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I obviously I love this setting, but World of Darkness LARP in particular has a rep for a reason.
It does. And some of it's good. There are some really good examples of story-heavy live-action roleplay. Even quasi-LARP like LA by Night, where they dress up and it's not a LARP, but they do a lot for it. There's What Happened in Texas, the Jackalope Studios LARP event that went half-done a couple of years ago that was outstanding.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Apparently it's really, really well done. There are some really good LARPers, but it's not the same issue with elder characters and mismatches in power. It's ripe for abuse.
And again, especially back in the day, in the 90s, and Vampire especially, think of the game that will be the most attractive thing for every theater kid you ever knew. I think I can count on one hand the number of Vampire LARPers I know who weren't theater kids. Hell, even it's a revised edition Storyteller Handbook or Player's Guide, I cannot remember which. Straight up says, in terms of character advice, says, revisit your high school years. Yes, it is the end of the world that a Toreador slighted this premiere at Elysium in front of everyone, and it's like, be the petty asshole that you know that you do in high school.
In a simulated environment where everyone can be mature mature and make sure it's just a game that is enjoyable.
Oh yeah. Problem is finding people who can compartmentalize that.
It is few and far between, and I am a firm believer that online LARPs have one way where they can work, and that is when there is a time box around fighting that technical button.
Now, I've done the online LARP thing before. It is a lot of fun. The last one I was in, I had to drop out of because I had just moved to Northern Virginia and could not get consistent internet access where I was living.
Oh, it gets addicting.
That's it. I couldn't spend any time on it. But honestly, the best one that I've ever participated in, the one I've had the most fun participating in, was years and years ago. Was a message board based Xavier Institute thing.
Rod, go. How are you holding up?
All right for now.
And 90% of it was just, hey, here's high school, and most of the kids here have superpowers. Go.
Honestly, I love academy settings.
Of one thing, they're easy to write. It sounds lazy when I say it, but they're easy to write for.
I love academy settings. I love coming of age stuff. It's great for newer players, and it's a great plot. And I had a Mage 20 version of it too that I was gonna work in.
That's the last terminal sorted.
The receptors are ready, Ava.
I'm on it. Okay, I'm in the dam's control system now.
I should tell that one.
Good to go. Cahal, it's time to withdraw. I'll tell Rob.
Want to hear that one?
I've
Yes,
identified
please.
a vehicle exit. I'll open it for you.
Okay.
Yes, let's hear that.
Okay. Well,
because Christ knows we're blowing off the game story, what little there is of it. So anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, I forgot to push my push to talk button. Basically, you gotta hear me out to the very end because you're gonna hate the beginning of it. Okay?
Okay. The fact that you have to preface it with that is unsettling.
The player characters, they're 16, 17, 18 years old, have to be. They get a letter by mail by owl first thing in the morning. It's a letter. Congratulations.
I can hear lore purists screaming from here, and it's delightful.
Congratulations, you've been accepted to Hogwarts. Hear me out. Hear me out. You said you'd hear me out.
I didn't say nothing.
I can feel your screaming. I could feel the teeth baring. The wolf inside was about to. You had to make a frenzy check. They get a letter. They go to Hogwarts. They go through the whole thing. And as someone who did a live action, well, before JK became a monster, I did a model Hogwarts, is what it was called. You can still find it. It's still being run, and they simulate every single year. And Harry Potter role players are the freaking best text role players on the planet. They are ridiculous. They are talented. They will write like pages of content every 5 minutes. They don't get burnt out. Well, they get burnt out. Everyone gets burnt out, but they seem to get burnt out. They are ridiculous. So I did this for 3 years, and it was the single best roleplay warpy group that I ever did, and whatever. And they did the whole ceremony. They did the whole hat ceremony, and it was so good that when I went back to read the books again before JPK became a monster, I'm not giving her any more money. I went back to read the books, and I read the opening scene with the hat and the boat and the Great Hall. I had what I could best describe borrowed nostalgia, quote LCD sound system, for an event that I had never experienced, but I did experience. it was surreal. Like, reading about Harry doing this, I'm like, I've done this before. I remember it delightful. It was freaking awesome. So Model Hogwarts, you can Google it. They always need people. Their clientele runs a little bit young, but there are some adult stories that they do. I had a character, you're going to roll your eyes at this, become a werewolf. And he snuck out on the night of the end of the year feast, and that's when literally everyone's role-playing. That is such a team event. And while everyone was doing that, me and a friend had written up like multi-paragraph long posts. We were posting them every 5 minutes. And basically we role-played out, story wrote what happened. And the whole group was like, oh fucking shit is what's going to happen, what we think happened. Anyway. Player characters in this game get a letter. Come to Hogwarts. They go in, they go to the train, go to platform 9 3/4. They walk right through the platform where they should. They get in the train. There are other kids with them around their age. I'm aging it up. I know Harry Potter's supposed to be like 13, 14 is your first year. I'm aging it up because I'm not comfortable having kids that young in a World of Darkness game.
Yeah.
Age it up a little bit. Age up the whole thing a little bit so that the 7th years are like 24. So it's pretty much break bills. Break bills is Mage 20, by the way. That's my opinion. They go through their first year. They meet the headmaster. Out of my way. And they're like, well, what about Harry Potter? Well, Harry Potter is actually real. All of this was real. All of this happened. And they sold the rights to the story so that we could fund new relationships and keep things going. Like, really? And the player characters believe all of it. Because, of course they do. And they learn magic. And basically the whole point of the game is you think that... Basically the whole system of the game, is that we're using Mage 20, but it's a Harry Potter rule set. You can still use, Langarvia, Gosa, you can still use Ventus, you can still do all this. But as you gain, like, if you were to use Defense Against the Dark Arts, or Transfiguration, that would give you points in, like, Force, Empathy. As you level up, you get, Rite. It's Harry Potter themed Mage. After about the 4th year, just give them about 2 years. They go into the forest.
Which we all
point,
know how that's gonna end.
Of course. Full moon. An actual werewolf. Werewolf starts hunting them. It doesn't go successful. And the werewolf, like, you heard a disturbance here. There's something irritating. A lot of the gnosis here. Like, what's gnosis? That wasn't Harry Potter. What are you talking about? Mysterious and strange for years. Worm creatures running up. What's a worm creature? That wasn't in our, our magical creature book. It's a bit of a mindfuck at this point. After about another year of this, there's the vampire. And there's 2 worlds that are clashing. You have stories of vampires, and you have stories of werewolves, and the 2 aren't working. By the 7th year, they realize something is wrong when the vampires and werewolves start working together to attack. Eventually, the truth comes out. Headmaster isn't exactly telling the truth when he says he's the successor to Dumbledore. And that artifact that he keeps in his den is a wonderful reality-altering Marauder artifact.
Oh dear.
Marauders, for those that don't know, break the rules. They are a vampire sect that are pretty much hunt on sight, and they're almost exclusively never allowed to be player characters because they pretty much are just Scarlet Witch. I guess I can just say the comic version one for those that know that. They break reality. They have their own reality distortion field. And we have one that it went a little bit insane because it turned out his daughter died, and his daughter was a huge Harry Potter fan. and he wanted to recreate the magic.
I've requested the reports on entrance and biofuel from Nevada. You can forget
That's
it.
sweet.
Victoria
It's low-key
Vogt
terrifying.
about it. If you ask
So he
her,
recreates
she'll tell you the same
Hogwarts.
things she tells everyone
He
else.
brings in students as a way to sort of honor her memory. The problem is, something that's probably a couple square miles around, uses up a lot of energy, and it's draining the land, and it's a massive violation. So you have an antagonist that isn't exactly a bad guy. You have other secondary antagonists, werewolves and vampires, that have good just cause. And you have players that have learned from someone for a prolonged period of time, and now have to figure out what they want to do. And I don't know what the players are going to do. I don't know if the players will side with the headmaster. I don't know if the players will side with the opposing force. That's not a role playing.
That is absolutely delightful, and might be one of the better uses I've heard from Marauders.
I can't take credit for the Marauders. My friend gave me that one. I was trying to make it work with a Void Engineer, but it wasn't working. So my friend's just like, just use a Marauder. Oh fuck!
Yeah, the thing is, I'm reluctant to do much in Marauders because they in my experience, the way they tend to be used, it's the same reason I'm always reluctant to allow Malkavian player characters, because way too many people decide to assign laws random. Way too many motherfuckers think they're Deadpool.
Yeah. Marauders, I don't do much with Mage. I'm not a big fan of Mage. I've never actually played Mage. I've read the book. I know enough to get by. I'm not a fan of the game. I've played it for like a half a minute. I was invited to a game that never happened. I've never actually played it. I've read the book. It's one of those games that everyone tells me that the best way to experience is playing it. You don't even try to understand the lore, just get into it. So it's not my forte due to lack of experience.
Yeah.
However,
I'm glad you're back.
I find it really interesting.
Me too.
Yeah, no, Mage is one of those games where I really want to run it. The problem is, Mage is an extremely demanding game to run. If only for the fact that it is ridiculously easy for clever players to just break the shit out of the entire thing.
Are Marauders like Ravenous? You explain what the Marauders are, by all means.
Marauders are basically mages who have completely who have snapped to a degree, who have snapped so thoroughly that they warp reality around them to fit with whatever their delusion is. If you're us say it is because, let's be honest, everyone has. If you haven't watched the first couple episodes of WandaVision by now, you've been spoiled for it anyway. But it.
Oh man, she's a Marauder, 100%.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, no, it's Marauders. It's WandaVision.
They're Mage Clan.
It's someone who is snapped so thoroughly that they just completely break reality around them to fit whatever their delusion happens to be. And they frequently they don't realize they're doing it. It's just whatever has happened to break them this thoroughly has resulted in their perception of reality to do this.
Someone over
At this point, we're generally speaking in the mage setting. Marauders are kill on sight for everyone. It's hard to say heroes kill in the mage because everyone's kind of fucked up. But
I know this is the last level for the level level that you're at, but that level that you're at right now, I did it like 3 times because there's so many little things you can do for stealth that make it really fun. I wish there was more you could do with stealth. We'll go back to the Mirage part.
Yeah.
But I wish you could do more with stealth. I know right now you just deactivate the things on the side, and it makes less enemies spawn in. You can kill alarms, you can kill things in general, and get them from behind. I wish there was more you could do with stealth, like jumping on the back of one of those things and just ripping off the power or something.
Yeah.
I wish it was more impactful. That level that you're in, it's extremely impactful because you can stealth it 100%, and it's
maybe
really satisfying. But anyway, Mirages are crazy. World of Darkness is just ridiculous in lore, and it's fun lore. Like Cyberpunk, I like reading the lore for, but it gets tedious. What else is there? Lancer. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, no. World of Darkness lore just gets completely ridiculous really in the way that superhero comics do, in that good and goddamn well there was no plan, and we are making this up as we go along, and then we're gonna try and make sense. We're gonna try and make sense of it all later.
Yeah, they do a good job of it.
Mostly.
Yeah.
There's some bits that you just straight up cannot reconcile with each other.
That's true.
And by that I mean basically anything to do with Demon.
Demon did the best job of recognizing it, if you ask me, because their whole all of it is true, none of it's true mentality.
It's still real. It's like they even acknowledge in Storyteller's Companion for that the Fallen do not know what the hell the Garu are, because they sure as hell don't remember putting them together.
I like how, that is my favorite explanation of World of Darkness. That there are multiple timelines converging together, and all of them are true because they're timelines that all existed at one point in time. They're just things converged.
That reminds me also. Okay, this is starting to piss me off now.
You can stealth it 100%. It's just a pain in the ass.
I have doubts about it being able to be stealthed.
I did it.
Sparf said, like the kid in Batman, that Batman sat with till she finally died. Ace, yeah, Ace is actually a really good example of a marauder. Though she's a bit more lucid than your average marauder, she's at least aware of what she's doing. It's something I've said before. There are people that I love playing with. I love having them in my games, but I live in fear of running mage with them within a mile of me.
Yeah.
Because of their ridiculous talent for just any rule set that comes within 10 feet of them, they will instinctively find a way to break the hell out of it. And Spark knows exactly who I am referring to. Okay, I'm gonna call it here, and we will come back to this point next time, because I'm just about to the controller breaking point.
Yep.
That's it. The frenzy check is happening.
Yep. That is not a fun level. That's the boss, effectively.
Yeah, I'm getting that. Except it's a really badly designed one. But folks, thanks for joining us tonight. Wendi, thank you again for joining me. We'll get to a part 3 of this when it's good for your schedule. Just let me know. I'd like to remind folks that below the stream here on Twitch, and will also be there when I post this on YouTube later, is a link to PayPal if you want to just tip your Storyteller. and a link to our new Patreon. Content for that will actually start being posted at some point this week. The first video for it will be GMing 101. Please send your questions in. Either DM me at Dante_the_K9 on Twitter, or shoot me an email at Inferno Gaming DM. It's Inferno with a U, because I am furry trash. Inferno Gaming DM at gmail.com. Send me your questions. Get in on the show. You don't have to be a Patreon backer to send your questions in. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Wendi, where can they find you?
I have a YouTube account that has the most recent play game that I did. It's a fun watch. It details most of the stories that I just told about and spoiled. You can find me on Twitter. It is WENDINGO Wolf WLF at Twitter. And yeah, that's where I am.
All right, folks, thank you again for joining us. If you missed any of the stream, if you want to check something out again, this will be up on the Inferno Gaming YouTube channel sometime in the next day or two. Folks, have a good night.